This taped recording is a part record of that spoken at the Easter service of 1995 by Father Gonzalo Munoz of the Blessed Sacrament Fathers at the St. Francis Church, Lonsdale Street, Melbourne. It is referring to a dream experienced by Father Munoz, and also contains the words prepared by Father Munoz to be spoken by Clemencia Barnes, a guest speaker, acting out the part of the lady who appeared in his dream. It also contains the response given through me from the source, and by me, Terence, God's earthly messenger at this end time. It applies to every religious order, as well as to every minister of religion or teacher of spiritual truth, who has in their control members of God's blessed children. Good morning, Gonzalo. This is Terence. I was with Clemencia yesterday and had the opportunity of listening to your Easter talk that you gave to your flock of gentle people. A few things struck me, and I felt that it was surely the time for me to reach out to you positively, because there is an awful lot at stake, a lot of misery and pain for an eternity for those who do not now heed me. I say this openly and clearly, because truly I am God's dove, God's messenger, the Spirit of truth, and through me God does speak to God's flock, all God's children, including you, and in fact every spirit on every level of consciousness in this universe, and in every spiritual realm from heaven down to hell, hears my voice. First, I now replay your joint speech.
Well, we all dream, we all have dreams, real ones or daydreams. I'd like to share with you tonight a dream I had. I was standing on the top of Mount Buffalo in northern Victoria, looking down the big valley that stands down the mountain. I think it's called the King River Valley. And the valley was full of people dispersed all over. It seemed strange, but in spite of their numbers, I could distinctively see their faces, their expressions, their colors. In the far distance, huddled behind barbed wire fences, I saw a huge group of slaves of all ages and colors. A bit closer, there was a large crowd of prisoners of war, of concentration camps. Some have the Star of David still tattooed in their flesh. 50 years haven't been enough to wipe them out. To their right, a dark mass of skeleton-like persons, citizens of many African countries, Rwanda, Mozambique, Burundi, Ethiopia, Kenya, South Africa, you name it, they were there. All starving to death. The boat people of Vietnam, also in big numbers, as well as innumerable refugees from all the war-torn countries and from famine-stricken lands all over the world. They all were there. All scapegoats of religious and ethnic hatred and the victims of the so-called ethnic cleansing perpetrated in Bosnia and some other countries. Panic was written all over their faces and bodies, and countless numbers of women brutalized by the humanizing violence, like rape, and humiliated by degrading attitudes like sexism, were also there together with innumerable other women and children wearing the scars of prostitution and sexual abuse, the victims of domestic violence, mainly women and children. The marginalized and the poor were present everywhere. We weren't just in a group, everywhere. The disenfranchised and workers sacked unjustly by their bosses, the unemployed of our cities were there too. The AIDS sufferers, the cancer patients were also there. And interspersed all over the place, I could see women trampled over by men wearing ecclesiastical attire and holding a finger to their lips, bidding the women to keep silent. All the time, a loud cry filled the air like a painful litany of lament. I began to feel terribly sick, and shivers ran up my spine, and I turned around in an attempt to avoid the depressing spectacle when a gentle figure of a woman appeared near me, shrouded in a veil, and partially concealed his face. Who are they and what are they doing here? I asked.
They are victims. They are the crucified ones today, the cross that afflicts the world.
If they are victims, what are they victims of? And who profits from their plight?
For you that was a difficult question, and I'm glad you asked it. It is only by naming the causes of such horror and the destruction you see, and by articulating them, that you will be able to unmask and combat them. Perhaps you will call them evil in general, but I would be more specific and give evil a more concrete and tangible name. I would call it greed and consumerism. I would call it corruption, economic rationalism, racial hatred, and sexism. Everything that is not compassionate. This evil is embodied in multinational corporations that control and dictate the economy of wealthy countries. Militarism is another such evil, as well as patriarchy, which is responsible for the victimization of women in the institutional church. I know this angers you, but it is right. Stay with the feeling, because if you delve deep enough into your situation, you will reach a point where theological reflection becomes a necessity in order to articulate your anger. But in order to enter into the dialogue with the Word of God, to see how the prophets and Jesus himself dealt with that evil, you need first of all to understand clearly where you stand in relation to the institutional evil. That is the only way to reach the point where one becomes aware of the need for prayer, for hope, for a change, and ultimately for the resurrection. Remember, there is no Easter without a Good Friday. Then you remember stories of people who were oppressed and experienced liberation. This happens when you go deeply into your own socio-historical context of oppression in order to feel the pain there and feel the need for the resurrection within your pain. When you hear your own cries for liberation, you feel anew the need for God. The real God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Jesus, rather than the idols of greed, of economic rationalism and patriarchy that have seduced you and your society and your church for quite a long time.
And is that the reason why we need the resurrection? Why at the Easter vigil we gather to listen to and recall the Bible stories of the creation, the liberation from slavery of Egypt, and to hear the poetry of Ezekiel and Jeremiah that sustains our dreams and our visions and speak to us of new imaginings and new possibilities.
Why, yes. Theology without poetry becomes dogmatism, consistently setting up prohibitions and taboos that engender fear and are meant to control rather than to empower us. Poetry and myth, on the other hand, tell us about the incarnation of divine energy into human reality, which are necessary for expressing the future of the hope of the world. That is why the story of the resurrection becomes a good news and a source of empowerment. We read these stories to remind ourselves that we are children of life, not of death.
That is why we remember the resurrection.
Yes, but remembering must not be an exercise in just nostalgic storytelling. It ought to be hopeful and realistic and empowering towards action. Because only when your imagination is freed from original sinful bondage of paralyzing fear, of cowardice and subjection to idols, only then do you become empowered to dream and to imagine all sorts of things, alternative possibilities, even alternative institutions. From a society ruled by greed and a culture of violence and war to one that is peaceful and is compassionate. Yet compassionate enough to take care of the disadvantaged, the poor, the downtrodden. And then we can move from a church dominated by a patriarchal hierarchy concerned only with power and control to a community whose power is the power of love and of service. And that would be equally shared by women and men, because only then you will become agents for change and renewal for the whole world. Only by sharing power, you will become a model for justice. Until women assume their rightful place in Christian ministry, Christ has only one hand to strengthen, one hand to heal, one hand to touch, and only one hand to console.
When she finished speaking, I began to realize that only when the pain of the cross is articulated and is spelled out and assumed, then the resurrection ceases to be just a myth or story to be recalled once a year night and becomes a reality to be celebrated and acted upon every day in our lives and in our church's institution. The prayer and the action then become our doing, and we reinvent constantly a new language to express our theology.
Gonzalo, this is Terence. I was surprised to see that you had actually prepared the speech in its fullness, that included all spoken by Clemencia, and quite probably Clemencia was not aware of the implications of what she said as she spoke for you. And thus, I'm going to say a few words about it, because when I listened to the tape, I was shown quite clearly something that maybe you are not aware of, being how our inspiration can be interpolated with by thoughts from many levels, including that of the very pits of hell. When she was speaking for the woman in your dream, she said the words power share. Thus you are stating, women must now be permitted to share the power. I will first speak on this, and then will go on to speak about your dream. I have asked Heavenly Mother Father for direction in this matter for you. This is what I received, and feel that it needs be read or listened to by all earthly ministers of religion. The first few verses are my interpretation of what you were actually saying to the woman of the flock through that worded by you and spoken by Clemencia. I need you to help me maintain power and control for eternity over God's gentle flock, who I today continue to mock, as they sit before me and listen intently to the words I do speak, through my friend Clementia, meek, who unknowingly was used so my words could be diffused into your silent minds that I have shuttered with blinds. Gonzalo, the word's power share was the satanic snare. Yes, brother, you did presume, suggesting that Sister Clementia share your gloom, and thus allow woman meek to power play seek, and thus the platform share, and thus tighten the noose, the snare, the control, the ritual, for too long habitual, beginning now to crumble, and priests begin to stumble, and clutch as they fall at other souls tall, saying, "Prop us up, for you can now share God's cup, the one of blessage, you can share our message, the one of untruth that speaks not of God's truth." So, Gonzalo, what I do see is very weak impropriety in your Easter show, and it I'd have you know. For I see into your heart that seeks a new start, but I do also see the controller controlling thee, who says, "Keep up your habit, so all see you are a rabbit." Gonzalo, all habits will I shred, like a paper shredder being my bed. I your God do prepare for all who wield a snare, to my beloved children entrap. I, with pain their knuckles I'll rap. Terence need not you convince, you son and all will I mince, who continue to daily deceive, and thus make my children more grieve. The Easter ritual of Jesus Christ is the Christian's biggest con heist. It's time now to let go untruth, and only truth so, being that the shepherd is my word, and that it is God your Lord. The shepherd is your mother above, my staff, the strength of my love. Lean on it, and are you safe. All other shepherds work for the dark knave, who continually praise men. None heed this my sacred pen. Gonzalo, the truth, the light, and the way is my word I give today, about the bright morning star, and non-retaliation I repeat from afar. All the other must be laid to rest, very soon for each their final test, and Father will every sinner flick with a very heavy stern stick. So, son, stop playing around with thoughts foolish and unsound. Go swiftly Terence's way, and heed through him my say. That Gonzalo is our mother of love, speaking through me, her eternal dove, and Father too would have a say through me to you today. My son and Terence's brother, you both are on earth for mother. Gonzalo, you must now wake up, and on the pure truth sup. Every minister has a mind bound by ancient beliefs unsound, and one needs stand tall and tell all the others of the fall. What is now to be brought on by me, the Father above, who destroys all who deceive and don't love. But I'd all prepare and tell how I'll all ensnare, to give all a last chance to at their mother's face glance, before I drag them below, and my wrath they'll get to know. It is a place of insanity, where I draw out all arrogance and vanity. Yes, I will each fool burn, to help them their freedom earn, on another eternally far away day, after for their follies they did pay. But I would all warn that for eternity they will mourn, and shriek in anguish all day, wishing they'd heeded mothers say. So, son, do your best. You have been truly blessed. by Terence's knock on your door, and Clementia's, my daughter for sure. If either of these two you deny, you too forever do cry. For if you turn from either away, multitudes will hear not mothers say, and thus your task is but light. Say to all, I believe Terence is right. Each must heed his song, and thus make their minds strong, and thus keep out satanic thought, through which control over all is sought, by the darkness that you see, daily rises planetarily. Move fast, do not delay. All humanity needs hear our say, your mothers and mine, for any who'd reach our land divine. That, Gonzalo, is the first I did receive, and I now speak of your dream of endless souls below, who are suffering yet in unknowable misery, all wondering why. This is why. Showing how man did ream, twist and distort truth, as the flock did dream, of a heaven above, the land of eternal love. In your dream, the land below, where all sit in deep sorrow, that they did endlessly suffer, knowing not why, as darkness did puffer, and glower over them, because they heeded not my sacred pen. And this they only now understand, because I have spoken in that lower land. Who are they? What are they doing? You asked. So I now set my pen to it unmask, for that was the request in your dream, of the ones exuding a litanic scream. They are the ones who were deceived by satanic thoughts that within minds weaved, yes, the minds of arrogant men, robed priests, says God's sacred pen, who all wore habits that became habitual, just like their weekly ritual, that enables Satan to their flocks bind, by honeyed untruth so sadly unkind, that said, Jesus did do it for you, just praise him and it's all you needs do. Jesus said not, praise me. Jesus said, remember the word I bring thee, from our mother and father above, sup on its wisdom and return above. For the wisdom is the only way of love and peace, I say. And I'll show you what to do, so you know how to be true. Being. To attain atonement one day, you'll needs follow my way. Yes, each needs be crucified on a spot, in non-retaliation, to erase the dark blot that you did place on your own soul, when in arrogance you on earth did stroll. So, my brother Gonzalo, I do see you were shown just how it be, that man, through greed and for power, tore his own veil of grace and crushed his own flower, his rose of God within, as he gave in to inner sin. Yes, shivers rose up in your spine, for far away now is the land divine. For deceivers all fall below, and avaricious wolves they get to know, as their souls are daily shredded by the dark wolves with whom they bed it. All will feel shivers up their spine as they fall below and join the swine, and they will kneel at the feet of satanic forces who do them greet. And this fate awaits even you and every minister, for each is untrue, because they did other men follow, beliefs false and hollow. Thus I call out now to you, saying, what will you now do? Continue along the dark track until a dark horse does you smack? Or will you fall down on your knees, saying, Mother in heaven, please, show me now the way to go, so that only pure truth I sow. If, son, this is what you do, come swiftly to this one true, and I will take your hand and say what by God is planned for you now from that day when you are prepared to heed my say. All men will fall below, and Satan get to know, for a day or a week, until released by my soul meek. Yes, my love so true will and can elevate you. So prepare now for what is to be, is to set all, yes, even you, finally free. So, my brother Gonzalo, I hope these few words reach into your soul, because I truly believe that your spirit has come to earth as mine, to help humanity, and that you have been placed in a position where by your word you can direct many to the truth. But first, you have to overcome the false beliefs of man, and then you need a lot of courage. But your task compared to mine is very light. You only have to say to your flock and all Spain, heed and read what Terence has to say and decide for yourselves. That, Gonzalo, is the least you have to say. All men who come to earth, all women who come to earth to help humanity are prepared to take on sin as their souls enter this flesh, the sin of this world, which is some negative emotions. And through this they gain conscious understanding. But through this sin they also can mete out pain and deceit and suffering whilst here, to some degree. And yes, they all do suffer. And again, yes, many as they pass over out of the flesh will face darkness, whether it be for a moment or two or longer, before they streak back to the ultimate level of light, their eternal abode. Truly, there is an awful lot at stake. Time is getting short, and it is not good enough to sit on the fence, nice and cozy and comfortable, thinking, well, I have an open mind, but I have to be convinced. No one, my friend, is going to convince you. I am certainly not going to try and convince anybody. My task was twofold. One, to bring in the message from God, and to do this, I had first to overcome the sin of this world, to also cleanse my negative subconscious programming and the false beliefs of my forefathers. That has been done. Now, in God's good time, this message, contained in the Testament of Truth, will be revealed and released planetarily. And that is it. It is up to each individual to bend down and pick up what is placed at their feet. That is all there is to say. Everybody says God is merciful and compassionate. They forget to listen to what God says. You be compassionate and merciful, and I will be merciful to you. So I come back here but for the love of our mother, who says, please, son, return once more, before all feel the wrath of their father, and tell them to please try and heed me. Their faces I would see. Gonzalo, I return not to perform any miracles. I have naught to prove. I have come back principally as God's messenger of truth, and to see who has or will hear the final word of God I now bring. Those who do not heed me will not see their mother's face, and if only you knew of the depth of the darkness and the intense suffering ahead, you would not be dilly-dallying about. So I hope one day, not too far away, that you will call upon me. You will find but a very simple man, as you and many, a part of God's plan. My ancient soul is buried deeply and invisibly in the flesh. I give below a few more words and bid you good day. The shadow over our eyes. Oh, the deep darkness of the skies that makes a shadow over our eyes, and through this shadow we cannot see the truth and reality of what be. That the serpent Louis is real, that the serpent Louis can our souls steal, that there is power in his hand, and he is satanic and very underhand. And his darkness does exist. invisible like a cloudy mist, so dark we cannot it see, because it is hidden within we. And thus it can control any through whom it does stroll. Our thoughts its bind, thus our minds unkind. To us, for what we do is to ourselves very untrue, as others we destroy, and darkness thus employ. And it was written, it would so be, until by love we were set free. Yes, the Spirit of grace, forgiveness for our foul mace, that we did wield against others with no shield of light and love, thus their lack of protection from above. Sweet children, can you not see what it is I say to thee, that all do cry, whom the call to love deny? And the danger is within, any full of sin, being anger, greed, or pride. Any venom, we go for a ride. Yes, one of pain, for ignorantly we are vain, heeding not our invisible God, who sees all on this sod. And we others control, as they do on earth stroll. We know better, we think, as deeper into darkness we sink. So I now do say, heed this word today, for soon now I depart, you all needs make a fresh start. For all teachings were wrong, cunning and deceit made them strong, in the power of the angry hand, rather than forgiveness, the spiritual band. So, beloved ones, who can see, a little come to me, and on my bread sup, its wisdom will lift you up. God can much do, shining wisdom down to you, via my ancient mind, but it say you needs unwind into your clouded vision, place your soul in a better position, for the vibration in thee is all that God does see, when you the flesh depart, and elsewhere make a fresh start. For you do there arrive, for your energy did you there drive, not the belief in your mind, that o'er time did unwind, through what you did see, untruth fed to thee. So now I do say, love and light flows your way, to cleanse you deep inside of your darkness, fear and pride. But you needs be kind within your own mind, and heed my eternal song of, be courageous, be strong, and thus the serpent overpower dark thoughts from the dark sower of evil way below, who your every move does know. You must seal up tight your mind, and stay in the light, by deed in every way, by deed every day. Only let love through, thus you remain true. Raise your voice or hand, you fall to the satanic band. Seek my star every day, to God via it daily pray, saying, Jesus, be with me, Creator of the heavens, set me free. Much wisdom I bring your way, you abide in God's say, being the wisdom of the word, peace, wield no sword. There is never any reason to join the destructive season. Put your mind to the test, put down your mace, let your arm rest. All who destroy are in Satan's employ. You cannot justify, to God's call ever deny. So the cloud I do see that blinds thee and thee is man's conditioned belief that entered stealthily like a thief into each daily life, and man abused his wife, and she then did him deny, and his sanity thus try. So sisters and brothers dear, to fresh wisdom draw near, fortify your mind daily, or become totally blind. For dark storms now arise, a cyclone of emotions in the skies, and many are to die, as God's reapers them try. Yes, the test is hard, a cold nail, an icy shard, but it is very short, if courageous the angry retort. And if you me heed, only your flesh will bleed, and your spirit will fly away, joining me for ever and a day. My love flows to you, my heart says, be true. I now stand by your side, as darkness surges towards high tide. Look up to my star, shining bright from afar. It shines for you, it will keep your minds true. Remember to be strong, spiritually, and do no wrong. Let the darkness have its say, then it departs for ever and a day. If you try to it destroy, you become in its employ, and pain goes on and on, never your journey won. Turn the other cheek, be merciful, be meek, just look to my light, shining bright in the night. And my love goes to you, saying, please be true, to a God of light and love, calling to you from above, saying, come home, you all far away roam. Heed your brother true, he is sent again to guide you. Peace to the fall, if you'd reach my shore, where love does abound, and true freedom is found. I now lay my pen to rest, it has you all with wisdom blessed. Heed my last call today, I the Spirit of truth have had my say. Bless you all.